This video will be mostly about the Plymouth Plan. The Plymouth Plan is planned for Plymouth and southwest of the UK, but it's kind of a model of what might be going on around your neighbourhood, wherever you live. And this is a worldwide plan. It has to be emphasised, and we'll take a look at this now. And the Plymouth Plan has been in operation since about 2017. It runs till 2034. I'm not sure that's quite right. It's about a 20-year plan. So now here's what's going on in your neighborhood. And what they're talking about is a hierarchy and a concentration. Now, I'm going to run through this document. I'm going to highlight a few things. And I want you to compare your notes with mine and see if we're onto anything here. Here we go. Okay, so the first thing that caught my attention when I was scanning through this document was some indications of what life's going to be like. It starts with a heritage, starts talking about our industries, retail and public sector, tourism, construction and manufacturing, and starts talking about money, raise the wage levels. And then it comes on to 1,100 scheduled monuments, 5,900 listed buildings, 86 conservation areas, as well as registered parks and gardens, World Heritage Site, Plymouth Waters, and a historical wreck. And they're talking about this, and they're calling it character and distinctiveness. Now, that's a lovely term, isn't it? We're hobbits. And this is it. And this plays an important role in regeneration, the local economy, leisure, recreation, tourism, and community life. Now, it all sounds wonderful, and we'll see where it goes. Have a look at this. It goes on to list all the policies included with it, and I'm just going to scan down these and I'll read the titles. Delivering spatial strategy, delivering sustainable development, sustainable linked neighbourhoods and sustainable rural communities, provision for new homes, provision for employment floor space, provision for retail development, spatial provision of retail and main town centre uses for the Plymouth policy area, and working with neighbourhood areas. Strategic connectivity, strategic principles for transport planning and strategy, balanced transport strategy for growth and health and sustainable communities, etc. And the most notable point is point 6 down here near the top of the document. Minimises development in sensitive locations where high quality natural environments could be harmed, and positively protects, conserves, enhances and celebrates the plan area's high quality natural and historic environments. Now, this is the interesting part, because this is when it becomes clear what this process is really doing. It's using an incredibly restrictive plan to turn the real world off, and these areas in which they're trying to lay down specific and key policies for the entire neighborhoods in this hierarchical fashion is basically going to build a prison system, and it's quite obvious as you read on. I want to quickly give you the highlights of the next part of the document. Sustainable and health promoting transport options are available to access local education services and jobs. Local distinctiveness and sense of place is respected, maintained and strengthened through high standards of design. Using sound science responsibly. Provide for higher density living appropriate to the local area and areas that best connected to sustained transport services and amenities, as well as appropriate opportunities for home working, reducing the need to travel. Use to better promote resilience to future change by a well-balanced demographic profile with equal access to housing and services. Note the services, note the travel. This is all a localized plan walking and cycling opportunities, to leave us in these very small neighborhoods, which are sufficient, only sufficient for our needs. And if you want further things, then you better go to further places. But that will be absolutely competitive because of the hierarchy of the system they're building in. Okay. Including provides, all sectors of the population. See, it's so hard getting along. Sustainable communities by creating a kind of spaces where people of all ages and circumstances want to live. Local communities are able to produce evidence and develop social policies as part of their neighborhood planning process to support the delivery of sustainable development. Okay, so it's on us. And obviously there's real complications in being us, so we would go wherever we want. Okay, so there's a few issues of the housing. I mean, they've miscalculated the housing by basically the amount that they're stating they're going to produce is the amount of demand that we'll have left. And in the meantime, we've got about 10% homeless. You can pull those numbers apart. I will get to that soon. I'm going to skip through this. Okay, now they do come up with some policies. These are the policies they're going to use. This is what basically the councils are allowing themselves. At this point, the document decides to straight up tell us that one of the plans that they're making is to restrict travel. And we hear things like travel to work areas. And then they break it up into 5 districts. So already you can see Plymouth, West Devon, Ivy Bridge, Tavistock, West Dartmoor. This is an area. Exeter, including Oakhampton. In the South Hand, this is an area. Torquay and Paignton, Kingsbridge and Dartmoor, Launceston. Okay, so there's a document here we got to take a look. Baseline travel transport conditions report. And what it's saying is a coordinated and sustainable transport program in Cornwall and Plymouth, which will provide genuine sustainable alternatives to single car travel. And this is being worked out by a number of agencies. Okay, so then there's the conditions, the things that we're all supposed to as these neighbourhoods to reach. Dartmoor National Park. Balanced conservation of the protected environment with provision for housing to meet local needs. Cornwall. Support economic development in the southeast of Cornwall to meet the area's own needs and recognise the opportunity of the growth of Plymouth as a major urban centre. Torbay. Secure balanced economic growth and recovery, improving connectivity, protecting and enhancing the superb environment and creating sustainable communities. Now, how do you do those two at once? You're going to protect and enhance this superb environment, and you're going to create sustainable housing communities. Okay, Greater Exeter and East Devon coordinating the strategic plan of Greater Exeter area and deliver the best possible outcomes for the provision of homes, jobs and infrastructures. Now, the best possible outcomes within this plan are to exceed the level of expectations, stopping people from leaving their house, being perfectly comfortable at home, living this happy and abundant life in their tiny little neighbourhoods. North Devon, Torridge HMA to enable delivery of infrastructure, jobs, accessible local services and housing for future generations while supporting a world-class environment of the Biosphere Reserve. You're going to support future generations on the world-class environment of the Biosphere Reserve. Basically, there's a word for that, and it was made pretty famous during the Industrial Revolution, when people started taking over whole towns with a single purpose. And we've got one of that nesting underneath our noses right now. I don't know if you're down with that kind of management, that kind of life, that kind of existence. I mean, it's bad enough if you're a hobbit without the dwarves running around, you know? It's ridiculous. And so it goes on. So a little bit later, it gets into strengthening Plymouth's, the strategic objectives of the plan. Strengthening Plymouth's role and improving the level of self-containment to meet the local needs. Thereafter, it comes up to Maintaining the vitality and visibility of smaller towns and key villages, playing their important role as local service centres. Development of new homes, jobs, community infrastructure is sufficient to meet the local needs of sustainable villages identified in the area and the village networks they serve. Maintaining the natural beauty in the thriving countryside to protect and conserve and enhance the natural beauty of the South West Devon countryside and avoid the development of unsustainable locations. Delivering high quality development to deliver development about sustainable and the right type for its location and of good quality. Delivering infrastructure and investment to take a proactive and coordinated approach to delivering infrastructure and investment needed to realise the plan's vision and deliver its strategic objectives and policy. Sorry if I'm stumbling a little bit there, but you can see the confusion. Just let me draw your attention to this idea of natural. I'm going to come back to that in a little bit. But then, strengthening Plymouth's role. There's a big clue. This is a hierarchical structure, and you'll see in a little bit the rights they've reserved and what they do when they start throwing numbers around. This document doesn't waste too much of our time before it gets into the complaints page, i.e. the part where you should be thinking about whether you can live with this. And I'm going to read this through very quickly. The housing land supply set out above will provide significant amount of growth, which will assist in delivering the supply of affordable housing to meet the needs across the area plan. The JLP's housing implementation strategy, in addition to the strategy set out in the JLP, the LPAs will undertake proactive actions to assist developers bring sites forward as effectively and as efficiently as possible. For example, these could include working with house builders, landowners to identify the main causes of supply problems and, where appropriate, to act on feedback received to remove obstacles to delivery. Production of planning briefs or site planning statements to increase certainty for developers on the progression of sites through the planning process. Regular meetings with stakeholders using an account manager approach to drive delivery of the major developments. Working with developers and the council's own viability specialists to find innovative solutions to viability issues on major sites. Continuing to use proactive pre-application discussions with developers, landowners and their agents to increase certainty in the development and the management process. Prioritising the use of public sector lands and the proactive use of council's power to acquire land as has been done effectively in Plymouth through the plan for homes and One Public Estate programme. Seeking public sector intervention and potentially funding streams through the Homes and Economics and Communities Agency. Maximising the use of starter homes funding to bring forward difficult to deliver sites. Ensuring the effective and efficient passage of applications through the development management process across all three LPAs. Now, the only question you ought to be asking yourself is, can you do all of that? Can you do that? Can you be competitive? I mean, is there any hope in development outside of the plan? I mean, unless you know these guys personally, are you going to be doing anything until 2034? That's something I really want people to sit down honestly and ask themselves. And then ask themselves, well, would you ever live in a place like this?